Hello and welcome to Spirit of Life. I'm Mirella Rich and our guest today is Gerard Koe and he's a Catholic counsellor. Welcome to the program.
Thank you, Mirella.
And we're going to be discussing Mary's messages, and we're also going to discuss what the visionaries' take and vision of heaven, hell and purgatory are, if we get enough time to fill it all in.
Okay, we got a lot to talk about today.
Yeah, so we'll see what we can get through. So far we'll talk about July the 25th's message in 2025. That's the most recent message. So, dear children, in this time of grace, when the Most High permits me to love you and lead you on the way of holiness, Satan wants to entangle you with the cord of peacelessness and hatred. Do not permit him to prevail. But little children, fight for the holiness of every life. Thank you for having responded to my call. So this is Mary's message from Medjugorje, the latest message on July the 25th, 2025. So I'll just read it sentence by sentence just to see what what you get from it. Dear children, in this time of grace, when the Most High permits me to love you and lead you on the way of holiness, Satan wants to entangle you with the cord of peacelessness and hatred.
Okay. Well, I think we are indeed actually living in both privileged and troubled times. Troubled times because when you look at what's happening in the world, the wars, the identity confusion, the values confusion, the godliness that's happening in the world, it's actually very chaotic. But I think that within the chaos, God is also sending clear signs, and suddenly the Medjugorje apparitions and messages are important pointers for humanity on what we need to refocus on, what we really need to do, the things that we have got to be prepared against. And I think, the fact that Mary continues revealing in such a powerful way is a sign that God is at work in the world and, certainly wanting to influence humanity in the right path, And certainly the devil is on the loose, or the way things are going on, definitely, this is definitely something that we should take heed of.
And she wants us to pray as well. She also says to pray for her intentions and pray for peace. So if we just keep praying for her intentions and for peace in our hearts, in our families and in the world.
And praying for peace is, requires many, many things, because to have peace, we need to have peace within our hearts.
Exactly.
We need to have the right values. We need to be able to stop the rot also. In other words, we have
stop the
rot.
Stop the rot. Okay.
What's happening in society, the false kinds of values that are being promoted, the almost excessively anti-spiritual values that are happening, and which have become almost incorporated, into societal life.
That's
things like euthanasia, abortion, different type of lifestyles and all that are now considered to be quite all right and to be celebrated, and this is all part of diversity. And,
that's what Mirella, one of the visionaries from Medjugorje, said. She said, pray for unbelievers. Pray for those who don't believe in God or haven't felt the love of God. Mary says, Our Lady says, they haven't felt the love of God yet in their lives, so pray for them. Because the ones who don't believe in God, they don't feel the love of God, they're the ones that are doing all these things, war, abortion, all the things that are causing havoc and sadness.
Yes.
It's because they don't feel God's love in their own life.
In a sense, it's actually being, we need to pray very hard for our youth and our children, because they are being influenced. Even the education system is being kind of influenced to promote certain values in the name of inclusiveness and diversity and all those things that anyone who speaks against certain types of behavior, like LGBTQ stuff, or abortion and euthanasia, you're considered to be a fanatic, a right-wing bigot, to be ostracized and to be sidelined. And so,
You can talk about nature, what's natural, you know, and then, I mean, because even what's natural is beautiful too, isn't it?
Yes.
You know, everything from nature is beautiful.
Yes.
Anyway, look, we'll go on, we'll keep going. Our Lady said, do not permit him, meaning Satan, to prevail. Oh no, hang on, first I haven't finished that bit. Satan wants to entangle you with the cord of peacelessness and hatred. Do not permit him to prevail, but little children, fight for the holiness of every life.
You see, the way Satan influences the world is, you know, not just by tempting people to do bad, but I think what he does is to diminish your commitment to deep and you know, long-standing spiritual values. And once people stop believing in these values, then it becomes very easy for them, in the name of adventure, in the name of, you know, diversity, to explore all sorts of lifestyles which may be very much against, you know, what the good Lord is, you know, planned for humanity. And all the problems that emerge when we start straying from long-standing, you know, good values. I don't want to call them conservative values, because these are values that have not only been promoted by the faith, but they are also values that are found in the best of all the great spiritual traditions. But once we start moving away from that, once we start saying, this is acceptable, that is acceptable, you know, this way of thinking, sexual promiscuity is acceptable, and it's just old-fashioned, you know, to go against all of this. Well, next thing you know, then anything goes. You know, when, as Friedrich Nietzsche says, once you take God out of the equation, then everything, there are no absolute values anymore. Everything is permissible. Everything is relativized. And when you got a culture which is very much influenced by postmodernism, you know, which is a whole philosophical movement in the mid-20th century, which says that there are no absolutes and that everything is very relative. You know, don't let anybody tell you how you should behave, what you should do, what you should believe. Just go by what you feel is the best and what is the right. We are heading for disaster. Yeah,
we have to go to a break now.
Sure.
You're watching Spirit of Life. I hope you're enjoying the program. We'll be back with more very shortly. Hello and welcome back to Spirit of Life. I'm Mirella Rich. If you've just joined us, we're here with Gerard Koe, and we're going to start now discussing heaven, hell and purgatory as brought to us by the visionaries of Medjugorje. Welcome back to the program.
Thank you.
We'll see what we can get through, but at the moment we'll start with heaven. So this is from Medjugorje.com as well. Vitska had said, in describing heaven in an interview with Father Livio for Radio Maria, Vitska explained that when they arrived at heaven, there was a great big wooden door. She said that the door was closed, but when they arrived, Our Lady opened it and they entered into heaven. She said St. Peter was standing at the right of the door. Vitska said, I immediately understood that it was him, with a key, rather small, with a beard, a little sturdy, with hair. I assume she meant with a lot of hair or something. And then says Father Bubalo asked Vitska to describe heaven. She responded, it can't be described. That is something beyond description. It is filled with some sort of beautiful light. People, flowers, angels. All is filled with some indescribable joy. Your heart stands still when you look at it. The following is taken from another interview with Vitska. So I'll read this and then I'll just get your take on it. So Vitska's question, Vitska tells us about heaven. Heaven is a vast space and it has a brilliant light which does not leave it. It is a life which we do not know here on earth. We saw people dressed in grey, pink and yellow robes. They were walking, praying and singing. Small angels were flying above them. The Blessed Mother showed us how happy these people are. I'll stop there for the moment and just see what your thoughts are on what I've read so far.
Well, there are many different depictions of heaven. Sometimes different religious views present different options, But I think that always it is described as a place of reward, a place of happiness, a place of deep peace, where your deepest wholesome longings are fulfilled, where there is a certain oneness with God, who is infinite love and infinite goodness. And I think it is not surprising that, mystics of every religion, and in particular in this case the Medjugorje mystics, have come to experience heaven in that powerful way. But I'm always a little kind of like not to say I don't take this seriously, but I think that, when we think about heaven, let me put it this way. In talking to people about why they should be spiritual, or why they should do good, or why they should listen to God or follow God, I find that the better path to talk about is not so much you be good because there's a reward in the future coming for you. So in other words, well, what if this reward is not exactly the way I wanted it to be? Because there are some religions who will say that if you follow the path, the religious path, that you will have so many women, or you'll have so much pleasure, or all the best food. So it's kind of like a lot of carnal pleasure also involved in heaven. But is that really what heaven is? Psychological studies have shown that there are a lot of people who follow religion in part because of two reasons. One is the reward of heaven. They're looking for a reward. And they also fear hell, and we haven't got into hell yet, but many of the depictions of hell can be so fearful that people choose to follow God or choose to follow religion because they are afraid of the punishment, or they are enticed by the reward. And while I want to say that this is not a bad thing, but it cannot be the highest reason why we seek a God or we seek to do good. That ultimately we choose God, or we choose to do good because good is good. Because good actually fulfills our lives and gives us the deepest sort of peace and happiness. And that the reward is really secondary, and we can be sure and assured that if we follow the path of God, we will have some reward. But it cannot be this reward that is actually the central thing for why we follow God. It's because God is the source of the highest good, the highest truth. And that by actually following the path that God invites us to enter, we actually are fulfilling our deepest longings, our deepest human destiny. So seek God because God is good, and because by seeking God we will experience the highest human possibility ever of the spiritual life.
That's beautiful, yeah. And God is in each one of us. Like he even says that in the Bible. So if we and we will feel better anyway.
That's right.
If we do good.
So while I can understand that there are a lot of people who kind of are enticed by the rewards or the pleasures or the promise of happiness, I would say that that's secondary. The higher thing is because living life in the way God prescribes actually brings us the deepest meaning and the deepest fulfillment.
And that's so true, because even in the Our Father it says on earth as it is in heaven.
Exactly.
So we can have that now. Why can't we live that good life here and create heaven on earth?
And I think all these revelations or these ideas of that there is a heaven, that there is a hell, is meant to help us to think carefully about the choices that we make in life. That the way you choose to be, the values you choose to have, the philosophies you choose to incorporate into your being are very much a reflection of what you're going to be in the next life. So we need to be careful about what we choose to believe, what we choose to hold as dear and as important.
That's exactly it, and
because
pure and wholesome.
if you hold the wrong thing, if you're uncritical of what you believe, you could very well be setting yourself onto a path of destruction, not just here on earth, but also later on in heaven.
That's right. That's so true. So
in the afterlife.
Yeah, beautiful. Well, we have to go to a break now.
Sure.
You're watching Spirit of Life. Stay with us. We'll be back with more very shortly. Hello and welcome back to Spirit of Life. I'm Mirella Rich. If you've just joined us, we're here with Gerard Koe and we're discussing Vitska's description and the Medjugorje visionaries' description of heaven. And eventually we'll get on to purgatory and hell as well, their description. Welcome back to the program.
Thank you.
So we'll continue with heaven.
Sure.
Vitska was asked questions on Medjugorje.com. How could you tell they were happy? That's what she was asked. And Vitska explained, you can see it on their faces, but it is impossible to describe with words the great happiness I saw in heaven. In paradise, when the Blessed Mother passed, everybody responded to her, and she to them. There was a recognition between them. They were standing there communicating with her. Like in a tunnel, only it wasn't exactly like a tunnel, but a tunnel is the closest comparison. People were praying, they were singing, they were looking. People in heaven know the absolute fullness of a created being. What are your thoughts on that?
Well, I think that what this seems to point at is, when you ask a lot of people, well, what is heaven? Heaven is happiness. Well, what is happiness? Oh, happiness is if I'm driving a Mercedes Benz, I'm able to go for vacations every year, 2 or 3 times, or if I'm wearing a Rolex watch, or if I'm looking, like Miss Universe, then it's heaven for me. But I think that the depiction of heaven seems to go far beyond all of that. That heaven is actually an internalized state. The energies are pure, the love is pure, and you may not be able to see that so evidently, except that in this place in heaven, it seems to also be reflected more clearly. But on earth, many people cannot understand this because our considerations about happiness are usually superficial and external and materialistic, and so. But what I think Our Lady is what the revelations from this person from Medjugorje is saying is
Vitska.
Vitska is that heaven is amazingly indescribable, and it's something that goes beyond words. It's something having to do with the interior being completely transformed and completely filled with love, with joy, with the inner peace that goes far beyond what materiality can actually offer. And so if this is what heaven is, I suppose the big question is, well, what do we need to do in order to arrive at this point? And even to bring it on earth. Bring it on earth, because when when I go to heaven, am I going to bring my Rolls Royce car and my Rolex watch? The answer is no. But what can I bring with me? That's a question that I often ask my clients, that if you want to know what truly matters, then you ask yourself, what can you bring with you? And they'll say, what do you mean? What can I bring? You can't bring anything with you. You can't even bring the beautiful body that you have. Well, no, that's not entirely true. There are things you can bring with you. You can bring with you how much love there is in your heart. You can bring with you how much wisdom you have arrived at in this life. You can bring with you how much virtue and goodness you have accumulated in the choices you have made. So it's not as if we don't know what we need to do. I think that what we need to do is we need to spend our lives seeking wisdom, being compassionate, and being virtuous. And this is what the gospel preaches. This is what we are invited to do, to become more and more godlike, because ultimately, if there's a God, then the highest qualities of God are that God is infinite wisdom, infinite love, and infinite goodness. So if we are going to spend eternity with God, it makes sense that we commit our lives in the here and now, seeking wisdom, being compassionate, and being as virtuous as we can be.
Yeah. I heard someone, I think it was one of the visionaries as well, and I've heard as well in the Fokolari movement as well, people saying that the love that we build on earth is the love that we take with us.
I think it was St. Augustine who says,
and one of the saints said it too, didn't they?
At the end of the day, it's only how much love in our hearts. But I would include, besides love, there's also wisdom and goodness.
Yeah. And that love that you build on earth, it never dies. And even if someone you've loved so much
it is
dies,
the greatest commandment
they
of God to
they
love.
still take that love with them, don't they? The love that you've given them never dies.
So those are the things that we need to strive for while we are here on earth, to seek wisdom, to be loving, and to be virtuous. And to be virtuous does not just mean following the commandments or following the laws. It's doing things for the highest reason. Always choosing that which is highest.
Yeah.
I think the law is the minimum.
Yeah.
But being virtuous is to seek that which is always highest.
That's so true and so beautiful. Just to keep in this high vibration, not the low vibration.
That's right.
Our lady, the question for Vitska was, how long were you there? And Vitska said maybe 20 minutes. Then the priest asked her, did the people talk to you? And Vitska said, it was very unusual. They were speaking, but I could not understand them. The people were in small groups. I was with Yakov and the Blessed Mother. Yakov is one of the other Medjugorje visionaries. He's the youngest. We spoke to each other, but there was no communication with anyone else. So they all spoke with each other, Mary, Yakov and Vitska. About the people there, the Blessed Mother only said to us, you see how people who are in heaven are happy? And that was something she commented. And then, so I'll leave it at that for the moment. Was there anything you want to comment on that?
Maybe what is meant is that, the communication that happens in heaven goes beyond words. It goes into the interaction of energies.
Wow, yeah.
So you don't really need words if you know how the other is, what the other person is feeling, the kind of energetic vibrations that are happening. And this is a far more accurate way of communicating than the actual use of words, which can be used to disguise certain feelings and to maybe even hide certain things. But you can't, the energy is there. If you see that loving, pure, good energy, you feel it immediately and you know exactly what's going on.
Yeah, it's like you operate from the heart.
Yeah, you operate from the level of deep spiritual energy.
Yeah, beautiful. Well, thank you so much for coming on the program. Would you like to come back again another time? We've come to the end.
I'd be happy to if you called me.
Beautiful. You're watching Spirit of Life. I hope you enjoyed the program. Today our guest was Gerard Koe, and we'll see you again soon. May you feel God's love and peace and joy in your heart and live a good life. Bye for now.